Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. Monday morning, we are rocking and rolling as we're seeing some movements this morning, up about 17 in the S&P, up about 70 in the NASDAQ. But what does that mean? We are looking for later today. So let's go ahead and dive in. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor, click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get all the alerts and the updates and all of that fun jazz. And if you are a regular viewer, then welcome aboard. We are live today on YouTube, so please feel free to hit the type in the chat box. I can kind of read that live, which I like to be able to do. That way, I can interact with those of you that are at home. So let's go ahead and dive in. Starting first with the S&P and the NASDAQ. So one of the things that we looked at last night in our live trade room was this potential for a breakdown below 41.19. Or 41.16 is probably even a little bit better, below the lowest low. But both the S&P and the NASDAQ have areas where it looks like we could see a decent breakdown. Now, we did not get an entry into those positions last night, but we also didn't see a huge rally up. And so, with a pretty interesting week and a fair amount of price action that is setting itself up, I'm a big believer that the probability is that we will continue our downward trend. Now, we did get a rally on Friday. We did get a rally early in the week before then, this sell-off on Friday. But it didn't change the rally that we got didn't change our uptrend or downtrend. It did slow it down. It did change our momentum a bit. But I think that there's a better probability that we continue to trade a bit lower. So looking at this, if I move this out to we got to go to a longer time frame now. Let's go out to a 5-year daily chart and just take a look and kind of where we are. And this is the NASDAQ over the past 5 years. So we can see that the NASDAQ, we are right now trading at areas that are sitting at support lines in places that we haven't been since about May. And before that, we're almost down to our lowest point, which was March of 2020. March 2021, where we had reached our lowest point of 2021, which old resistance acts as new support, and that could be an area where I could see kind of a little bit of a magnet for price. Now, remember, we are down about 20% off the high. And so this high up here where we are today, we are down actually 23% off the high in the NASDAQ. So certainly some downside movement in that NASDAQ that has made itself known, if you will, looking for where do we find a bottom, right? Where does it continue to drop? And there's longer, there's longer term implications for where we could go. Can we make it all the way back down to here, back down to 10,000 in the NASDAQ? Who's to say that we certainly couldn't? I don't know that we're going to get quite that far down, but when I look at weekly demand, that's my next quality weekly area. I've got a couple of levels in here that are not quite as strong, but our downward trend is certainly established in the NASDAQ as well as the S&P. The S&P also has a pretty strong weekly downward trend, although the S&P not down near as much. We wouldn't reach the 20% mark until we get underneath, somewhere around 4,000. So, but for today, I would say look for the breakdown. Prices continue to drop. Where am I going to be a buyer? I'm not. I'm going to be a buyer when I'm told, hey, look, we set up a new swing high, and then I'll be interested in being a buyer. Now, maybe if you want to go to a much, much smaller time frame, if you're a day trader and you're really looking at very small time frames, like, say, a 5-minute chart, you might get a bit more interested in getting long, maybe at a breakout above here if you're a 5-minute day trader. Maybe you like some of these levels in here for reversals. I don't like to go to small time frames that small. I prefer to stick to the 15-minute as my smallest time frame, and we've got a decent supply up here for a potential reversal. So that's the level that I'm looking at for today in the S&P, as well as the NASDAQ, both of them for potential shorts up above current price or the breakdown. Looking at both energies and metals today, crude oil down about $3 in the overnight as we had a pretty strong move down. We were looking at this last night. and we were sitting right around here when we were in our daily market commentary. In our live trade room, waiting for a rally back up to here. It never came. We did wind up continuing to break down. Big expanded range candle right here at the London market open. So if that expanded range candle gets retested in any way, I think you've got a pretty good trade right through here. And I think there's certainly reason to play a breakdown below this low. If you just get up and now you're looking at the markets for the first time today, if you want to trade this, I'm all right with that as well. Getting short below 101 on a bit of a breakdown trade, especially with the basing that we're getting right now. Gold also, we did get a breakdown in gold below this region in here. Last night we had talked about that this would be the area that we would want to get short if there was quality basing. We didn't quite get great basing in there, and so looking a bit higher, if we get a little rally back up, you have a little wick over wick sitting there at 1883.3 by 1885.8, which I could certainly see a good cause for reversal at that zone and at that level for price to continue to roll over and continue to drop. So those four markets look like a decent setup. Nat Gas, unfortunately, we had a gap and go setup in Nat Gas, and it certainly gave us an entry. But then this was the entry candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles later, it had gone nowhere. And then at the London Open, we sold off for a small stop out. So if you're up, you certainly are, you should probably have a pretty good inkling. Hey, listen, 6 candle rules into play. I should probably get out. If you did a set it up overnight and allow that thing to work while you were sleeping, then you probably got stopped out. These things happen. And this was an example of a failure in that failure to launch, if you will, of that gap and go. So in this case, the natural gas position that I'm looking at here, we would look on our 4-hour, our trend is still up. We are coming to the gap fill area right through here, so that is certainly a potential for an entry if that's something that you're interested in to take a long right through there. As far as everything else, I hadn't been. We'd been looking at the euro for a potential breakdown below here, this 105 area, just kind of hovering, sitting sideways, so not a lot to trade in there. And then at some of our other currencies, the New Zealand dollar we looked at last night, and we did get the breakdown in the Kiwi. Unfortunately, 6 candles later, we've gone nowhere. And if you're still in this trade, you should get out, close it out for a break-even position, because it's really not a super strong entry at the moment, especially since that didn't follow through. Same thing with the Aussie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles later, we had gone nowhere. So unfortunately, neither one of those really gave us much of a movement. So not a whole lot of overnight movement this evening to follow through on, but I think a lot of stuff for later today. And if you guys have any questions, as always, shoot us an email, support@tradersarmy.com. I'm going to turn this bad boy off. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I will talk to you soon. See ya.